Hello. So, I want to come on here and talk today about why a lot of social programs have failed, especially in the area of community development. I am someone who has experience as a program developer and a program facilitator in Toronto specifically. I have also participated in community programs that are government funded across Canada and in the United States through middle and high school. So I have a lot of experience in the community development sector, the community programming sector, and also in education. I'm currently a teacher here in South Korea, and I have a lot of experience working with marginalized communities. I am someone who is really great at finding opportunities. And so throughout my life, I've been very lucky in terms of being able to participate in a lot of different programs, usually that have diversity initiatives trying to bring inclusion and equity, DEI, to marginalized communities, though I would say this was even before DEI became a thing. And as I began to work as a professional, I was always working within an intersectional kind of framework in community development and programming where we were usually serving youth who were of diverse racial backgrounds, usually working class, immigrants, newcomers, diverse sexual orientations, and trying to serve underrepresented parts of the city in terms of free or affordable programming outside of school hours. I have particularly focused on participation in Black run and Black focused community programming. And in Toronto, which is really where I can speak to, I have found that the programming continues to fall short of, I would say, professional standards. And you can even discuss ethical standards in terms of what is being promised, what the funding is going towards, and what the actual measurable outcomes are of participants. I think that the main problem in today's community programming world, program development world, is implementation. I think that the Black Lives Matter movement, particularly, has had an incredible effect on funding for diversity programs for all backgrounds, for beyond race, for any type of marginalized community. I think that the Black Lives Matter movement has pushed forward funding in the diversity sector or with a diversity framework exponentially. And so we have a lot to thank Black people for in terms of funding that has come into community and social development, social programming. But money is not enough. And I think you'll find anyone who has participated in these programs or who works within these programs will tell you that it doesn't really matter how much funding you have if the implementation and the strategy is not there. Consistently in these programs, I find that they are government funded, they've received grants, they have adequate funding, an ability to bring in mentors, an ability to bring in guest speakers, fund lunches, sometimes fund travel, and things of this nature. But the professionalism is nowhere to be found, and the standards for and the structure and the organization of these programs is really, really low level. And there doesn't seem to be a structured, well thought out plan and goal, a long-term vision for these programs, which is extremely unfortunate because a lot of these participants are entering these programs with hopes that this can be the opportunity that breaks them into the industry that they desire, or breaks them even just into financial independence, financial stability, mobility. Oh, sorry, that's my shea butter. I know that there is evidence that backs the idea that community programming is essential to the health of any community, but especially it is a vital tool in lifting um, historically, systemically impoverished, systemically marginalized, oppressed communities out of cycles of poverty, out of cycles of violence, just out of erasure and marginalization in general society. Communities, community programs, community centers, these are the avenues that a lot of marginalized people are able to use to find exits out of suffering, to find exits out of struggle. And so it is really important that these programs exist and that they are adequately funded, but also that they are treated with respect in terms of how they are carried out. It is not enough for the government to allocate a certain amount of funds to the program and then just leave it to whoever to run it. The people who are running these programs need to be skilled in understanding what a community needs and how to best implement the program so that it actually services the participants. Now, the people running these programs do not need to be university educated. They don't need to have research experience and degrees and doctorates and all of these things, but they do need to have an investment in the community, and they need to have a desire to create long-lasting effects and change that help lift people out of struggle and help progress people in their own desires and in their own goals. They need to have long-term vision. I'm finding that I'm coming across a lot of community programming that seems to be created by people who had an idea to uplift themselves out of struggle and saw an opportunity to use grant opportunities and government funding opportunities to create a job for themselves and create a platform for themselves, and did not consider what community programming is really about, which is community, which is building up the strength of an entire group of people and providing a way to create stability and strength amongst an entire population through one avenue. I find that a lot of these programs focus on sharing success stories of guest speakers, but not so much on helping the participants hone their own ideas, strengthen their own critical thinking, their own action taking skills, providing them with mentorship, real valuable mentorship that translates into references, translates into being recommended for jobs, translates into being invited into certain rooms, to events, to tables, be having your name spread around, references that actually extend community, expand community. I am finding that a lot of community programming seems to be centered around being an opportunity to uplift the individual that created the program out of poverty and give them a chance to find mobility and success in whatever industry that they are exploring, that they're breaking into, through the use and implementation creation of a community program. But the community program itself is not being valued as its own avenue for economic success, economic mobility, and social change within a community and within a larger society. And I think that the core values and the core meanings of what community programming is all about and social programming is all about is being lost. And that is also because I think that there's not enough value placed on the elders within our society, the educators within our society who may not have the credentials or who may not have ever actually taken on an actual job title in community work, but who were doing the community work and who are part of the reason why community work and social work, community programming exists It's their work that informed this idea that we should be studying this in academia and then implementing it in policy and then getting it to actually become real programming in our neighborhoods, in our communities. So I think a lack of respect for elders and a lack of reference to them to understand how these programs should actually run, what actually worked, what made sense, why certain things were able to succeed and push so many people out of poverty, push so many people out of cycles of imprisonment, of early pregnancy, out of struggle, out of dead end jobs, and out of vicious work cycles. There are programs and community initiatives that have been able to completely transform the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. But those community programs were implemented well, even when they were underfunded. They were implemented well. They had a strategy that was responsive to the needs of the community, and they understood that it's not, the community program is not just a job for the person who has created this and not just a job for the people working within it. It is its own ecosystem. It is the lungs of a community. It is what brings vitality and breath and new life, to a community. It's the inspiration core. It's the center. It's more than just jobs and opportunities for the people who are running it and working it. And I think that there needs to be a drastic change in the way people who decide to come into community programming work, how they see that work, what they understand it to be and the value of it and what their role is within it. And also on a government level, for government bodies who are allocating funding to these programs, it is really important that they are not just giving the money and then walking away, but are creating standards and monitoring structures to make sure that these programs are not being taken advantage of by people who would rather exploit these resources and tarnish the reputation and the need for community and social programming by exploiting it and misusing it, and then making it so that it doesn't become something that people want to fund in the future. Part of the struggle that we've had with community and social programming is that it's been so heavily exploited by people who just saw it as a means to an end for their own success, that people don't believe in the value of social programming. People haven't been able to experience the positive transformational effects of community programming in a while because of the shift in value placed on programming and value placed in grassroots work that a lot of women were doing within their communities, work that a lot of elders were doing in their communities, an overall shift away from valuing grassroots labor, elders, wisdom. All of these things many things have contributed to what's happening right now to social and community programming and social community program work. But there is an opportunity for change. It's something that I'm trying to study right now as I pursue my master's. I'm filling out master's applications, and it's something I wanted to share and bring to YouTube because I've just been in my own world trying to develop my research project, and I thought it. And I was listening to Gary's Economics. If you don't know who that is, he's an economist turned YouTuber turned, I imagine he's probably going to become some form of a political figure. And he's talking about growing wealth inequality and how it's important to change our tax system to create a wealth tax, a substantial wealth tax on the super wealthy. So people who are hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. So I think he was saying upwards of $10 million, but usually the ultra wealthy. But anyways, I was thinking about his ideas. I was listening to him, and if you're someone who believes in intersectionality, I think you'll agree with me in saying that all of these issues end up finding a meeting point, between the economy and community programming and even healthcare. All of these things are connected. Education, everything finds its way into a center point. And so I'm doing that research right now to try and figure out how to help make a transition back into successful programming. And also, as we face new struggles with the implementation of AI and job loss that will happen, how do we create secure futures for young people and also for old people who are going to be facing their own struggles due to population change, investment changes in the economy. So I've got my own research interests in mind, but I thought I would come on here and share just my initial thoughts. This is just a general thing of what I thought I could share right now, just to get speaking, get talking. And this isn't very well, this is not planned out at all. It's just me speaking off the top of my head. But I'd love to know what you think about what I've said, and if you agree, if you disagree. I have not even scratched the surface of everything that I think, and nor have I touched on the nuances of this topic. It's very, very complicated. These are just, top surface level thoughts that I have that I wanted to share. But main takeaways being that I think implementation is a huge issue that we need to fix when it comes to community programming, and also like hiring standards and like I guess ethical standards in like what the work looks like and what the success outcomes look like. How are we measuring success, and making sure that these programs are doing what they are supposed to be doing. What is community programming and what should be the outcome of community programming. Understanding what community programming is even meant to be, and what its purpose is to serve in a community will also help us understand what kind of success we should be looking for, and help us fix our standards and support programming so that they can reach those standards. But I guess we would need to understand what community programming is in the first place, and what it should do for a community, what it should do for a group of people. So yeah, that's just my initial thoughts. Let me know what you think. I would love to connect with other program workers, other community development workers, social workers, anyone. I mean, we all fit into the intersection of this. It's a very intersectional community. So if you have thoughts, I would really love to hear them. Seriously, maybe we could create our own little community of minds, because we've got to work together on this. And yeah, so that's just me.